Welcome to THEOSHOW, your number one podcast for everything training, mindset, and nutrition. I am your host, Oren McCarry, and it is my goal to help you access the best information around to allow you to kick ass in the gym, in the kitchen, and most importantly, in your head. Between my own experiences and those of my amazing guests, I'm confident we will do that. So let's strap in and level up your life starting right now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Welcome to today's episode of THEOSHOW. I am your host, as always, Oren McCarry, and I am joined today by a previous guest who you will have to be living under a rock if you do not know of this man. We have my friend from Adelaide, Joe Mencel from Massive Joe's. How are you, Joe?
I'm back. How you doing, Oren? Thanks for having me back, man.
Not many people get a second episode, but we're back on.
You're gonna make me blush over here.
That's it, my man. So people will be able to go back and they can check out the last episode, which went down really well. It was one of the top 5 for fucking ages, and it's still getting listens actually to today. Like, people always go back and listen to that one, so they can go back and listen to the Massive Joe story there. But if they want the quick synopsis of who Joe Mencel is and they have been living under a rock, who are you, mate?
Well, my name's Joseph Mencel, as you introduced me. I do a couple of things. I founded, own, and run a couple of companies. So one of those companies is a company called Massive Joe's, and another one, or the other company, is called Tmj Apparel. So Massive Joe's, for the viewers and the listeners who haven't heard of the company before, when you think supplements, you think Massive Joe's. So Massive Joe's is, we do supplement retail, we do supplement wholesale, supplement distribution, supplement importation. We do a lot of business in sports supplements, in health supplements in general, work with some of the biggest brands in the world, which is really, really cool. On the TMJ Apparel side, TMJ Apparel is an activewear brand. So it's our own brand. So we are manufacturing from a cut and sew basis, activewear for females, activewear for men, really kind of for the fitness lifestyle. And then we also do workout accessories, training aids, the sorts of bits and pieces that you use when you're training in a gym. So excellent. That's what I do in that side, I guess, in the business realm of my life. In the fitness realm of my life, I'm a professional men's physique athlete with the IFBB, the International Federation of Bodybuilding. I also run the amateur side of the IFBB here in South Australia, which is where I live and where my businesses are based. So I run the IFBB South Australian State Championships, and then the Season A qualifier at the start of the year and the State Championships at the end of the year, and then are in charge of running the amateur side of the IFBB here in South Australia. And then I guess on the back to the business side, I host a podcast called the Fitness Times Business Podcast, which is a top 100 iTunes podcast, which is really a self-development based podcast. It's called Fitness Times Business, but it really allows me to kind of dive deep into psychology and mindset and, a lot of the things that people struggle with when they're trying to achieve certain goals on the fitness journey, on the business journey, if they don't run a business, through their career, in their relationships, and just generally in life. And that podcast has actually led to me being able to take advantage of a bunch of opportunities in the business mentoring space. So I do some business mentoring, I do some keynote speaking, that's kind of targeted towards that personal development, that business development side of things. So I think that's it.
Awesome, man. That's a big resume.
There's a whole bunch going on, man.
There's like 5 different things listed off, man. How do you manage it all, huh?
Oh man, it's like spinning plates, to be honest, Oren. It's like, I've got these different plates and I, have to focus on one thing at one point in time, spin that plate, make sure it's got enough momentum to kind of do its thing, and then go and focus on another thing, and then the next thing, and then come back to the first plate. And, it's just, it's a continuous challenge, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I love every part of it. And, I'm very, very grateful and very privileged to have the opportunity to do what I do.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. And obviously people might have listened to the first one. They might think of Joe as Massive Joe's and the supplement side, but they might also know the TMJ because as of a couple of weeks ago, you've jumped in as a supporter of the podcast, and we will never have ads or anything on the podcast where it's like just spamming people, but it's just that little gentle reminder that if people do want activewear and they like this stuff, they can get basically a free gift whenever they use the code THEOSHOW at checkout. So that's an awesome little perk. And you can see also, I'll clip this up for Instagram, but I actually just came from the gym. Legit didn't put this on just for this. This was in my gym bag. I've got the old school Magna Carta vest, right? This is the Magna Carta, right?
That's the Magna Carta, yeah.
And mate, you're all docked up. You've got the new stuff, which actually you're saying just came in today.
Yeah, literally landed in the warehouse. So this won't go live, well, after this show goes live, probably a couple of weeks until these are available. But that's the cool thing, right, is I get to have first pick at things that come in before they drop. So yeah, we both repping today.
That's it, man. That's it. And then you've got a few other things. You're doing quite a cool little charity t-shirt as well at the minute, right? Yeah,
we are at the moment, man. So one of the things that that we've done through the TMJ Apparel brand for, let's say 5 or 6 years now, pretty much since we started, or since we set it up as a separate brand, was we try and do 2 charitable pieces of apparel every year. And so at the start of the year, it's kind of become a little tradition of ours. We always do something on Anzac Day. So we do an Anzac Day t-shirt, and we've done them since 2016. So this is 16, 17, 18, 19, so it's been 6 years. And so we do a limited release. It's usually 500 t-shirts. It's an exclusive design, never to be repeated. We do it once a year. We sell the t-shirts and we donate 100% of the profits to an Anzac related charity. So at the start of this year, at the start of 2021, we donated to Legacy, which was really cool. And we ended up sending them over 10 grand in profits from those t-shirts. So that's always our start of year charitable cause. And then towards the end of the year, we've always tried to do something around either physical health or mental health. So in the past, we've done breast cancer awareness t-shirts, and we donated a whole bunch of money to Pink Ribbon. We've done things with Beyond Blue in the past for men's mental health. And so what we decided to do this year for the charitable cause, a little bit politically fragile, a little bit politically controversial, but I'll talk you through it real quick. So the t-shirts this year are the let me flip that over, anti-lockdown club tees. So awesome. we've done a t-shirt called the Cardio Club for 5+ years, and they're one of our most popular t-shirts. And so this is a take on the anti-cardio, but we put lockdown in there instead. And obviously, you know, quite timely with everything that's happening in Victoria and New South Wales at the moment. But these are cool because what we thought we'd do from a charitable perspective is, once again, sell all of these t-shirts, donate 100% of the profits. And what we decided to do with the donation for these t-shirts was to give half of the profits to Lifeline, which, for the listeners and the viewers who are unaware, is the telephone mental health service. So, you know, you can dial 1-800-LIFELINE if you've got, you know, struggles that you're having mental health wise, both male, female, you know, whoever. It's open to everybody. It's completely free. So half of the profits can be donated to Lifeline, and the other half of the profits are going to be donated to a charity called White Ribbon. And White Ribbon is a charitable organization that's responsible for supporting victims of domestic violence, and in particular women. So women who are victims of domestic violence, you know, are supported by White Ribbon. So half of the profit's going to go to them. And the reason why we chose those 2 charities, and the reason why we decided to do this tee, is because lockdowns are designed, you know, obviously with the coronavirus pandemic at the moment, are designed to stop the spread of the pandemic. But the other side of lockdowns is, whenever there's lockdowns, there's a spike in calls to Lifeline. So there's a spike in people having mental health struggles, and there's a spike in reach outs to White Ribbon. So there's a spike in domestic violence. And that's something not a lot of people know about. And it was very difficult for us actually to find the statistics of the actual increase. It's almost like they've kind of been swept under the carpet. So we decided to, you know, for the charitable cause for the second half of this year, was to do that, donate the money 50-50 Lifeline, White Ribbon, do the t-shirts that are a little bit politically fragile, politically controversial, but at the same time use our brand exposure and our digital footprint to shine a light on the negative aspects of lockdown. And that is that a lot of people struggle with mental health, and a lot of people struggle with domestic violence as well.
Yeah, mate, that's huge, and that's something that, you know, I guess I can agree with. It's kind of like swept under the carpet. You see it on social media sometimes, but in terms of actually being reported on, like my office at Doherty's has a TV right outside it, and all they talk about is the vaccine numbers and the amount of cases and all that stuff. But nobody's really talking about like the amount of calls to Lifeline. That's the kind of stuff I see on social media, but I don't see on the news.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool that you're doing the teas, and it's a way of supporting these charities who are doing valuable work at the time as well. So
yeah, 100%, man. You know, it's almost like we get kill two birds with one stone. We get to kind of shine a light on the side of lockdowns that doesn't get a whole lot of exposure, and then we get to raise a bunch of money and support the charities that support us.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's good. That's really good, man. And it shows what you are, like your values as a business. The fact that you do 2 of these teas through the year when you kind of don't really have to, you know, like what other supplement company will do something like that?
Yeah,
and I bet you not many. So I mean, that's a testament to you and the values you've instilled in the business you've built. So mate, congrats on that, because that's giving back.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And it's, you know, it's something that we come up with as a team as well. So it's not 100% on me. We've got a really good team here. We've got a really good culture as well. So we're always trying to think about, you know, things that we can do to give back to the community and trying to spotlight on, you know, parts of the community that don't kind of get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, man, 100%. So that's pretty cool. So if anyone's interested in doing that bit and, you know, giving a bit of money through, they get a nice tea out of it, but they get to send some money to a charity. Get on the website and use the code THEOSHOW, obviously, when you buy anything over there to get your free gift as well. But that's awesome, man, that you're doing it. So congrats on that. Yeah, let's change gears a bit, kind of back to where we started, because one thing, and I recently dug back into your Fitness by Business podcast a little bit, and I've listened to a few episodes, and I can see why it's a number at the top 100 podcast, because it's very well structured, it's very well presented. But obviously, you do have a lot of these spinning plates, right? And stuff like time management, and just coming up with ideas for business, like even like a charity t-shirt or different ways to sort of overcome and help the business to grow, the multiple businesses. Like, you're a busy man, so I thought, whether people have a business, whether people are in the corporate world, whether people are employed, time management is a big thing, right? We all have the same 24 hours in the day, but some people act as if they don't have enough time. So how does somebody with, you know, 4 or 5 legs to their business, they're pro athletes, so obviously you're training a lot, at least I'd say 5 times a week, maybe, you know, you do your meal prep, you stay on point with your diet. Like, how do you keep all these plates spinning, and how do you balance everything? Like, have you got any tips for people, whether they are an office worker, whether they're self-employed, whether they're working in a corporate job? What could you do to help them maximize their day?
I think there's 2 different scenarios that I think are probably worth exploring, right? The first one is if you're just personally, right? So you don't have a team of people around you, it's just yourself, and, you know, maybe you got a partner, family, whatever, but your situation is for yourself, you're trying to balance, you know, the thing that I kind of see a lot of people struggle with is family, career, fitness. And usually what happens is family takes number 1 priority, career number 2, and then there's not enough space for fitness, right? Which is why a lot of people the fitness gets pushed to the side. 100% understand, life happens. Everyone's busy. There's a whole lot of bits and pieces to do. So in that scenario, I think that a lot of people really don't appreciate how much time they have and how they can squeeze 6 minutes out of every hour, or 10 minutes out of every hour, or just these little bits and pieces of, you know, downtime or dead time, as I like to call it, that kind of just get wasted throughout the day. And I think the reason why a lot of people don't appreciate how much time they actually have is because they don't consciously look at how they're spending it. So I think one of the first things, one of the most practical and strategic tips that I can give that sort of person is to actually have a journal of how you spend from when you wake up in the morning. And this, I still do this today. When you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, I break my day into 30-minute blocks, right? And I will actually fill in the 30-minute blocks and look at how I'm spending my time, right? And I think that that's really important, firstly, from an awareness perspective, because it's going to be very obvious if there's blocks there where there's like nothing, or, you know, there's something there that you're like, oh, I really spent 30 minutes doing that, or I spent an hour doing that, or, you know, maybe I shouldn't, you know, I had other things that I could have been doing. So that's something that I found incredibly valuable, is actually consciously journal how you're spending. You know, it can be 30 minutes, it can be 15 minutes, it can be an hour, whatever it is, but some sort of conscious journal about how you're spending your time from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night, I think is super, super important. And automatically you're going to be able to see gaps where you can squeeze that 6 minutes, that 10 minutes, that 20 minutes, that 30 minutes. You might even be wasting an hour a day just doing things that you don't even realize you're doing until you consciously start acknowledging them. So I think that's probably, you know, the biggest piece of value I can give for that scenario. I think the other scenario is, you know, if you are the sort of person that has a team around you, perhaps you run a business, you've got, you know, different employees, you know, whatever your situation may be, if you've got a team of people around you, you have to invest in that team. You know, they are your biggest asset. You know, I'm in a fortunate position where I get a lot of the credit for a lot of the work that my team does, right? I'm the face of the business. I'm the guy on the podcast. I'm, you know, the charlatan, for lack of a better term. And so I receive a lot of the credit for it. But the fact of the matter is, I have an exceptional, you know, dream team behind me that is responsible for a lot of the day-to-day operations, which allows me to free up a bunch of time to go and focus on different things that I need to focus on when I need to focus on them. And I can delegate and trust that my team's going to take care of, you know, the nuts and bolts and the bits and pieces that need to happen.
Yeah, man. And that's huge. And that's something that Mark Cole said when he was on here a few weeks ago. He was on the podcast and he said, listen, Richard Branson doesn't fly the planes. Like, you've got to have the good team, and you've got to have, you know, like, be able to sort of step away from your tasks and to delegate, and to then use that time to do stuff like you say, grow the business. You might spend half an hour recording a podcast, or, you know, making content as the face in the videos and on the social media and the product drops and everything else. But because you've got that team in the background, it means that you can do that without the business suffering.
Yep. 100%. You can't do it all, you know, like I can't do it all. You can't do it all. No one can do it all. And, you know, so the way that you kind of scale a business up is to build an exceptional team, you know, and build the culture that supports, you know, high performance, but at the same time, empathy, you know, and just builds a culture that is about trust, that is about vulnerability, where you can hand over, you know, whatever task you need to a team member, and you have absolute trust that they're going to go and execute and get it done. You know, it's super, super important.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And what about like social media? Because obviously a lot of the Massive Joes in the TMJ Apparel businesses is run by social media. And it doesn't mean you have to do everything, but do you find yourself getting drawn into social media and the mindless scrolling, or are you very direct with your time on social media?
So once again, I have a team that helps me, right? So I have myself and Vince and Caleb here at Massive Joe's headquarters, and between the three of us, we run the social pages that are integrated into both Massive Joe's and Tmj Apparel. And then, of course, I got my personal socials on top of that. But yeah, so I've got a team that helps out with that, who are very good at what they do. So a lot of people might think that it's always me doing all the socials. It's not, you know, there's a team behind me that does it. But so far as the you know, the consumption of social media or even mass media, this comes back to the first point that I made, right? Is a lot of us spend a lot of time, like you said, mindlessly scrolling, right? Yeah. And the best way to identify that is to do that journaling, right? You know, you might see that you're spending 30 minutes every morning just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, 30 minutes every night mindlessly scrolling through Instagram. That's an hour a day. You do that 7 days a week. That's almost a full, you know, conventional work day a week that you get back, that you can use to work on your fitness or your career or your side hustle or whatever it may be. So far as I personally don't consume a lot of media at all. Whether it's social media, whether it's mass media, you know, I'm very direct and very purposeful with the media that I consume. It's very, very rare that I'll find myself mindlessly scrolling or mindlessly watching the news on TV, or, you know, whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I done that like a good while ago, a good few months back. Like one of my mates was having like 15 minutes per day on Instagram. And I was like, how is he getting 15 minutes? That's so low. And I looked at my numbers and I was like, some days was like 2 hours, 40 minutes. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing on social media for 2 hours and 40 minutes? And it was just that quick 2 minutes here or 5 minutes there. And you're just scrolling while you're walking or whatever. So I was like, right, let's put that timer on. So now it goes off after an hour and says, right, you've done an hour. And I'll still allow myself to go on now, but at least I'm aware you've done an hour now at this stage. You probably need to slow down. And sometimes I'll hit that at 9 a.m. if I've had a busy morning doing stuff for the business. But then it keeps me aware that I have consumed a lot and I have been on it a lot, whether it's conversing with people or whatever. And I'm kind of mindful about, well, hang on, you've wasted an hour of your day here on this. So just be mindful about it moving forward. And I think that's something that can be huge for people, is just checking that screen time and then putting that app limit on where it says after an hour, it's like, you've done your hour. Do you want to close the app, or do you want to like give yourself another couple of minutes, or do you want to just keep going? Like, at least then you're aware of what you're doing rather than just going through the day mindlessly. And probably journaling as well, because that's what popped it into my head. If you notice that you've probably got your half an hour blocks and you haven't written something in for half an hour, and you're probably like, what did I do then? It's probably where you're going to be doing something mindlessly, like, you know, and you just haven't logged it because you've forgot about it because it was like downtime or whatever. So if you see loads of these gaps in the day and you are doing something like Joe said with the journaling, guys, you're probably just filling it with stuff that you don't really need if there's loads of gaps through that.
100%. Yeah. And it's the easiest way to see as well.
Yeah. 100%, man. 100%. And then with hiring a team, right? Because a lot of people who listen to this, they are coaches. They might have a business in something completely different. There might be a nail tech or a gym owner, or there might be, you know, in the corporate world, but have a team underneath them. So you've grown this team, which obviously is critical to you, and you live in your life the way that you should. Gives you some free time, allows the business to grow. How do you go about finding the right team? Like, how did Massive Joe's and TMJ Apparel find the right people for the job? And then what's the attitude that sort of keeps that team there and keeps them happy, I guess?
So when it comes to hiring people, there's no shortcuts, unfortunately. There's no kind of golden piece of advice that I can give you. Obviously, you have to do your due diligence through your hiring process. So the way that we hire people for our team, we'll advertise, we'll prepare a job description, people apply, we send them the job description, the resumes will come in, and then the first shortlist is based on resumes, right? Which is, do you have the skills? Do you have the experience? Does your resume look like you're the sort of person that's going to be able to do the job, but also fit into the team? If you make that shortlist, then there's 2 interviews. So there's an initial interview that's just based on, do we think that you have the personality that's going to integrate with the culture that we have here? And then if you make it past that, you go to the second interview, which is competency, skills, and experience. So can you actually do the job that we're hiring you to do? So that's the process upon which we hire new employees. That being said, we might hire somebody and we might find that they're just not the right fit, right? Even with that extensive process in place, you make mistakes, right? And I have this saying, well, it's not my saying, but it's a saying that I've adopted from, I can't even remember where I heard it, but the saying is hire slow, fire fast. And that means take your time finding the right people, implement the right processes, do what I just mentioned to you, right? Set the structure up in the best possible way you can set it up to succeed, and make sure you're doing everything you can do to hire the right people. But as soon as you find out that you haven't hired the right person, move them on very quickly. And don't attach. I think that, one of the mistakes that a lot of people, when they hire new employees, make is they attach their own identity, their own self-worth, and their own ego to hiring the right person. So it's almost like, well, if this person doesn't turn out to be the right person, that's my mistake, and I'm not willing to put my hand up and own it, right? And that's where the ego comes in. There's no shame at all in putting your hand up and saying, look, we had the process in place, we did the best job that we could, and at the end of the day, we hired the wrong person. And it's on me. I take responsibility for it. And now I'm going to fix it by moving that person on and starting the hiring process again. So I think that's how you hire people, is hire slow, fire fast, and don't attach your ego or your identity to how good of a hirer you are. There's just no point. It doesn't make any sense. Then when it comes to building company culture, it's funny you asked the question, because it's something that I was really given the opportunity to focus a lot on last year during the pandemic. You know, when my business was completely flipped upside down in a matter of, you know, we went from the pandemic hit, right? We went from international freight schedules completely flipped on their head, which disrupted our supply chain like I've never seen it disrupted before. Still today, 18 months later, there's still issues with supply chain. We saw the value of the Australian dollar drop by 20% in 10 days, which affected, we pay for a lot of our products in US dollars. So our cost price went up by 20%, 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
Then with the gyms shut, the lockdowns, the stay-at-home orders and all of that shit, our top line revenue as a business dropped by 60% in 2 weeks. So I was just like, oh man. But anyway, we got through that, right? And we got to a point where I actually had the time and the resources, and I was able to prioritize focusing on company culture the way that I've wanted to for so long. But we've been such a busy business. We've been such a productive business, retail stores, this, new website, that, new athletes here, you know, all of this stuff happening. And I just didn't have an opportunity to focus on company culture. So I was able to spend a lot of time doing it last year and really kind of going, you know what, these are the things that we need to focus on to take the business from this level of company culture to this level of company culture. And obviously, you know, getting the most out of our people and making our people feel the most value they ever have is also going to take the business from this level up to this level. So I think probably the top tip that I can give there, well, the first tip is to consciously focus on it. You know, I think that a lot of times business owners, business leaders think that culture just happens. Culture doesn't just happen. It takes somebody, someone in a leadership position to say, you know what, this is what we stand for as a company. These are our company core values. I'm going to hold you guys to these core values. I expect you to hold me to core values. We're going to go into battle and we're going to fight for each other. We're going to do what we need to do to protect each other. And at the same time, we're going to win as a team as well. So company culture doesn't just happen. It takes conscious, concerted effort to build culture. And I think that, you know, the best place to start is, what is your company mission? What is your just cause? What is your why? Why do you do what you do as a company? Make sure you get buy-in from all of your staff about, this is who we are, this is what we do. And then what are your company core values? What are the day-to-day behaviors that are going to help you achieve that company mission? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable? Once again, get buy-in from your staff, right? So you're really starting to, this is how you build culture. So that's probably the first, I probably threw like 5 different tips in there, but that's the first tips. And then I think the second thing is to really make sure that you're doing what you can to help your people, right? At the end of the day, your staff, your employees, your athletes, you know, people who are invested in your company are giving up their time, which is a piece of their life, for you, for your vision, for you to try and achieve what you're trying to achieve within the company. So you need to make sure that you're helping them achieve what they want to achieve as well. Yeah. So the way that I like to think about it is, my vision for what I'm trying to achieve with my companies needs to be big enough to fit the vision of every single employee for their life and what they want to achieve within my vision. So that's kind of how I go, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What are you guys trying to achieve? Tell me, like, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years, in 10 years? What do you know, what's going to bring you satisfaction? What's going to bring you fulfillment? What do you want your life to look like financially? What do you want your fitness life to look like? What do you want your family life to look like? Let me make sure that what I'm trying to build, that my vision is big enough to fit every single vision of every single employee within that company vision.
Yeah, wow.
That's how you build culture.
That's huge, man. And when people buy into the culture like that, they will turn up to work productive, satisfied. They'll not crawl out of bed in the morning and need, 10 cups of coffee and a cold shower to get them going. They're coming into work ready to work because they, like you said, they buy into the mission, the why, and they know that they're getting rewarded not only financially, but also spiritually, emotionally, whatever way you want to put it, because their whys are also being ticked through working towards the bigger why.
Yeah, 100%. And there'll still be days where they need 10 copies and a cold shower to come to work. Don't get it twisted, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? It's you have those days, but you're trying to have more days where that doesn't happen than days where it does.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's take a little diversion from the fitness stuff, or sorry, the business stuff, to talk about your fitness, because like you said, you turned pro in 2017, I want to say.
Yeah, 2017. Yeah.
So Men's Physique Pro in the IFBB, highest. If you're not familiar, guys, listen to this. IFBB is the highest league, if you want to call it, in bodybuilding. It's where you get to go to Mr. Olympia, Arnold Schwarzenegger level. So Joe is a pro in that. So you haven't done a pro show yet, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No.
Let's talk about that.
I'm hoping it's like fourth time lucky for me, right?
Let's talk about the three so far then.
Yeah, okay. So 2017, I turned pro. I won the state title for the third time, won the national title, won the Oceania title, and was unanimously awarded my pro card. And so then my path from there was, I knew that I needed a full year off to grow and develop my physique, to go from a top amateur to the pro level, because there is a big jump between the two. So I purposely took 2018 completely off, didn't compete at all, had a really good off season, built a lot of lean muscle. And then I started 2019. I started my prep at the start of 2019, and my goal in 2019 was to go and do the San Jose Pro in California. A week later, go and do the Chicago Pro over in Chicago in the US, and then shoot up to Canada and do the Vancouver Pro. I think that was 2 or 3 weeks after the Chicago Pro. So spend about a month in the US, do my first 3 pro shows, and hopefully do well enough in those pro shows. At the time, it was a point system to get to the Olympia. So do well enough to get enough points to qualify for the Olympia, and then do the Olympia, which would have been September 2019. So I started this prep. I got 6 to 8 weeks into this prep, and I went through some issues in my personal life. My marriage broke down, and I needed to focus my effort and my energy on more mentally than anything else, getting through that. One of the toughest things I've ever gone through in my life. And I have a huge appreciation now for people who go through divorce, who go through marriage breakdowns, because it's really, really hard. So pulled out of that prep, the first prep I've ever pulled out of, to go and deal with the breakdown of my marriage, and really give myself the focus that I needed to give myself mentally to kind of get through that. So then get to the end of 2019, get through that, well, that stage of that at least, was able to kind of get myself in a position where I was like, okay, ready, let's go. So something cool happened. Tony Doherty, who runs the IFBB in Australia, so he's the president of the IFBB here in Australia, across all states, all territories. So he runs the Arnold Classic Australia, or the Arnold Sports Festival Australia, which is in March every year. And so for the very first time in 2020, he decides to bring the very first men's physique show, pro show, to the Arnold Australia. So Tony gives me a call. I'm going to say this was middle of 2019, maybe it was like August, September 2019. And he says, Joe, I've got some good news. I'm bringing the first pro show men's physique to the Arnold next year. Are you in? And I said, I'm in. Let's go. So I started prepping. I did a 6-month prep. So I started 26 weeks out, started prepping for this show, get to 6 days out. So get to March, I don't know, 14 or 16 or something, 2020, 6 days out, started my peak week the day before, get a phone call from Tony. Obviously at this point now, we all know the pandemic is roaring into full effect. Get a call from Tony, and Tony says, listen, Joe, you know, I'm really sorry to tell you this news, but I've decided to cancel the pro show. Pro Men's Physique, Pro Bodybuilding, Pro Bikini, all of the pro shows are canceled. You know, I'm really sorry, but it just is what it is. We can't get any of the pro athletes internationally into Australia because at that point they shut the Australian border. He goes, we've only got a few Australians in each of the divisions, so I can't run the pro shows. And then obviously in the next few days, the whole thing was canceled. But that was the first thing to be canceled, was the pro show. So I'm like, man, prep 6 months. This is my second shot at making my pro debut. You know, it's not going to happen. All good, you know. And then I had to switch into business mode because obviously then the pandemic, all the things that I explained earlier, in our chat here happened. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to dwell on that. I had to, you know, try and keep my business alive. Anyway, so that happens. So on take three. So take three. So start of this year, March 2021, get a phone call from Tony. He says, Joe, I'm thinking about doing a Men's Physique Pro show in November. I'm going to call it Fit Fest. It's going to be the nationals for the amateur side of the IFBB, and I want to do a pro bikini and a pro men's physique show. Are you in? I said, yes, I'm in. I'm lucky. I'm going to do this. So I start my prep 20 weeks out. Really good prep. Honestly, best prep I've ever had. Starting point was amazing. The way my body's responded has been amazing. Get to 10 weeks out and Victoria goes back into lockdown for the 8th time. New South Wales has already been in lockdown for a couple of weeks. Borders are shut. Tony makes the early call and he says, you know what? I'm going to not leave this till 6 days out this time. I'm going to leave it 10 weeks. We're canceling the pro show once again. So yeah, so that was the 3rd attempt.
Wow.
And so maybe 4th time lucky, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Wow. At least you've had the time in between me to actually make more improvements and go back to the drawing board and say, right, what do I need? And it's that extra time to solidify your place in your division and hopefully then have more of an impact when the time comes, right?
Yeah, that's the goal, man. You know, that's the goal. You got to kind of keep that perspective and keep that marathon mindset. You know, it's never, you know, and you know, right? It's never one show. You never prep just to do one show. Yeah. It's a journey of, you know, doing a show, reversing out, having an off season, getting better, doing another prep, you know, and it's just continuous for as long as you want to do it. So long as you can keep your head in the game, you can keep yourself healthy, you know, you really kind of have to have that infinite mindset, that marathon mindset and that long-term perspective around competing.
Yeah. And then for anyone who is competing, who has either had a show canceled or this may happen again, fingers crossed it doesn't happen again where shows get canceled. But if it does, or somebody has to pull out for any reason, how do you mentally cope with that? Because it hasn't happened just once or twice, but it happened to you 3 times in a row. Like, how do you mentally cope with that after the 3rd one where you said, like, oh, fuck it? Like, is it, most people would be like, well, fuck, maybe I'm not meant to do it. But now you're already talking about 4th time, it will be your time, you know? So how do you get back in the horse and get back into that position where you're ready for the next show again then, mentally?
Man, you know, there's always going to be things that happen that are outside of your control. And I think that this canceling of shows is obviously very applicable to those of us who compete, right? But in all areas of life, there's going to be things that happen that you didn't anticipate happening that are outside of your control, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about them. So I always anchor back into the 4 things that are always within your control. No matter what the universe throws at you, you have 4 things that you can always control. The first one is your actions. You can always control what you do, when you do it, how you choose to do it. The second thing is your responses. So how you respond to the things that happen that are outside of your control. You can you know, choose to respond and be pissed off and angry and whatever, or you can choose to go, you know what, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. So be it. The third thing is your effort. You always have control over how much effort you put in. So if you say, you know what, this has happened and I'm not interested in continuing down this fitness lifestyle or this competing lifestyle, fine. You get to choose that, right? That's always within your control, is your effort. And then the 4th thing is your attitude. So you can choose to have a positive attitude, a negative attitude. You can choose to be optimistic. You can choose to be pessimistic. So when you anchor back in and you go, you know what, those 4 things, I have complete control over them. I choose to make sure that I'm acting towards my ultimate goal in competing, which for me is to make it to the Olympia stage, right? That's what I'm trying to get to. So my actions need to align with that goal. My responses also need to align with that goal. So if I go, you know what, I'm really pissed off about this. This is bullshit. How can this happen to me? This happened, you know, third time now. You know, is that going to help me get to that goal? No, it's not. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of effort. So I choose to have positive responses. My effort also has to align, right? So I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to figure out what my weaknesses are. I'm going to work on those weaknesses, and I'm going to put 120% effort into getting better every single day. That's my choice. So I'm going to choose to do that. And then finally, my attitude, like I kind of mentioned, like I have a marathon mindset. So I know that, you know, competing is a part of what I do. It's a part of who I am. I'm going to do it until my body decides that I can't do it anymore. So, you know, when I look at a 10-year timeline, my attitude around that is, well, you know what, the show could have gone ahead and I could have crashed and burned in the show. It's not the end of my competing journey, right? The show could have gone ahead. I could have qualified for the Olympia. Still not the end, right? Yeah. Like it's never finite. So my attitude is long-term perspective, back to the drawing board, put in the work, continue to get better, and eventually the opportunity will be there. The time will come.
Yes, mate. Yeah, perfect. And do you think that when you do get the chance to go on stage, will it be within our borders or will it be international? Will it be at a stage where flights can open up and you will potentially look at doing the American run of shows, or will you want to try to plan to keep it close just in case this happens again?
Look, if I had a preference, and I really don't, like it really doesn't bother me, because, you know, in 2019, I was going to go to the US and Canada. That was the goal. And then 2020, the opportunity was to do here. So for me, I don't really have a preference, but if I had to choose, I think I'd probably like to do a show in Australia, just because I have, you know, so many followers and fans and customers of the two businesses that, you know, they watch my pro prep series on YouTube. They watch my Instagram stories, my workout summaries, all that sort of thing. So they've kind of been on the journey with me. So I think it'd be cool to be able to share that with them in person. And, you know, the best way to do that would be to compete in Australia somewhere. So awesome. You know, if I had a choice, that would be it. But you know, I don't really have a preference.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that all aligns and we can get a show happening on the pro level. Because I think after the past sort of 18 months that we've been in this, like we kind of need something like that to revive the industry, to revive the bodybuilding fans, and to have something to aim for where they can go book a flight, travel to Melbourne, Sydney, wherever it ends up being, and they can go and see a pro show will be huge for the sport. So
yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's a really good way to give back to the bodybuilding community that has, you know, had to endure some pretty difficult times recently. So yeah, you know, it'd be nice, you know, if when all is said and done, we can do something like that.
Yeah, nice, man. Nice. So what's next for Joe and the two companies and everything else, man? Like what's on the horizon, or what's the sort of before the end of the year, what's coming up for you?
Man, we're I mean, to kind of get to the end of this year, we're doing everything we can to kind of, we spoke about this off camera a little bit. We're kind of doing everything that we can to use this time to sharpen our skills as a company, to, you know, to sharpen our swords, so to speak, to get our company culture just right, to get our systems internally the best they can possibly be. You know, it kind of comes back to those things that you can control, right? Your actions, responses, effort, and attitude. At the moment, from a business perspective, with everything that's happening on the East Coast, there's a lot that's outside of our control from a business perspective. There's nothing we can do about it. So, you know, we're not focused on that. We're focused on what we can control internally. So for us, it's really about making sure that we're as finely tuned a machine as we can possibly be, so that when things do open up again, we're in the best possible position to maximize the success capacity that we've been building during the pandemic. So, you know, without getting into specifics, I think that's probably, you know, what our focus is for the last 3 months of this year. Crazy, there's only 3 months left in this year, to be honest.
I know, man, it's flying, and I'm telling people, oh, you got 12 weeks roughly to transform your body before Christmas, and it's like when you said, you're like, oh fuck, like that's went quick.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, so that's happening. From a personal perspective, I'm getting married in November,
Congrats.
which is very cool. I'm super excited about that. Once again, pandemic affected, not going to be able to have the wedding that Amy, my fiance, and I wanted to have. But once again, we fall back on what we can control. So we're doing what we can do to make sure that we get married. Yeah, and then just physique wise, man, once again, back to the drawing board, trying to get better, trying to improve, trying to
Awesome.
keep leveling up.
Awesome. And when Tony sends that call in, it's going to be a yes, I'm in. The answer is definitely going to be there.
It's always going to be a yes.
Yeah, awesome, man.
I'm chomping at the bit, man. Let's go.
Awesome, buddy. Awesome. Well, it's exciting to see. Like, congrats on the wedding, congrats on the business. And hopefully you nail everything that you want by the end of the year. But this is going to go live next week, which will be, that's either the start of October or the end of September. I'm not sure when it actually starts, but you will have the Vice Miami sort of Vice City sort of colors on the tee that you're repping. It won't be launched yet, but they can maybe keep their eye out on the socials for that killer style t-shirts. But the anti-lockdown clubs will be on sale, and all proceeds going to charity, right? So they can grab that straight away if they're interested, and if they want to, they can probably, can they not pre-order, but can they find out when that drops, or is it going to be via email for the other stuff?
So if you go to massivejoes.com/coming soon, or just Google Massive Joes coming soon, all of the supplements and apparel that are launching in the next couple of months will come up there, and you can go and register your interest by popping your email in. And then as soon as those supplements or those pieces of apparel drop, you're the first person to know about it.
Awesome. And by the time this drops, everyone will have seen this. YouTube will take a while to get up because I've got a backlog of all of season 2 to get through. But I will definitely clip it up so people will have seen the t-shirt, they'll have seen the lockdown one. So hopefully we'll get some orders, get some money towards the charity, and then people, if they like the other stuff, they can get their hands on it nice and early by banging their email address in and getting updates there.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time, man. I know we took up about an hour between the time we chatted and caught up before this, and also for this amazing episode, man. I think it's going to go down very well. Lots of little nuggets in there. And guys, if you enjoyed this, please tag both of us and let us know, because that means that we might make this a trilogy, man. We might have to get you back on for season 3 next year, huh?
Be like Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's more than 3, but who knows, man? We'll just keep releasing new episodes.
That's it, man. That's it. We'll keep it going every year until we got the full saga, right?
That's it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time. And guys, if you want to follow Joe, the links will be in the description below if you want to just click and go straight to Instagram. But if you like to search, Joe, just throw in the handles for Instagram so that people can do it if they're just on their phone and want to do a quick search.
Yeah, so it's just, my name is my personal Instagram, so JOSEPHMENCEL. And if you go to my personal page, the links are in my bio to Massive Joes and Tmj Apparel. So that's like the single source.
Oh, easy, my man, easy. I'll put links to all 3 in the descriptions. People can just click and take them straight to Instagram. Awesome. But I thank you for your time. Hopefully the lockdown t-shirts go well, and hopefully you guys hit all of your goals before the end of the year, mate.
Thank you, Aaron, and same to you, man.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of The O Show. If you know somebody who needs to hear this episode today, please share this with them via message or on social media. Don't forget to also take a screenshot and share it on your story and tag me at Oren McCarry so we can continue to grow the podcast and help more people change their lives with the advice given here. Also, keep the 5-star reviews coming over on iTunes, as that helps people who normally wouldn't listen to the show find it and get the O Show in their ears and drive the podcast forward to help more people around the world with the advice here. Have a great day, and I will speak to you soon.